I felt the ground shake before I heard the roar of machinery. From my kitchen window, coffee mug in hand, I watched a bulldozer tear into my family's 3-acre woodland. This land had been ours for generations, long before Pine Grove estates sprouted up with their cookie-cutter homes and obsessive lawn rules. The operator waved to someone out of sight, and then Karen Walker, the HOA president, strutted into view, her sharp blazer clashing with the muddy sight. Clipboard in hand, she looked like she owned the place. My place. "They can't just take your land, can they?" my daughter, Lily, asked, joining me at the window. I smirked. "They think they can. But they're about to learn." 6 months ago, the first letter arrived, a polite jab about my unkempt forest being an eyesore. I ignored it. The second brought a $50 fine. The third threatened a lawsuit. Yesterday's letter was different. Pine Grove HOA is thrilled to announce a new community workshop on the undeveloped parcel adjacent to the western boundary. My parcel. My trees. I pulled on my boots and marched outside. The autumn air smelled of fresh dirt as I neared the property line, where Karen directed workers hammering survey stakes. "Morning," I called. "Seems you're confused about whose land this is." Karen's smile was all teeth. "Mr. Carter, so nice to see you. We're just marking the community expansion area." "Funny," I said, voice steady despite the rage simmering inside. "This is my private property." She laughed, sharp and dismissive. "A misunderstanding. Our revised map shows this forest as a common area. Your deed only covers your house lot." I flashed a photo of my property survey on my phone. "My deed covers all 3 acres. Been in my family since before your HOA existed." Karen's smile didn't budge. "Our lawyers reviewed it. The original developer meant this for community use. We're fixing an error." She handed me a document, an amended bylaw, signed by strangers, referencing a meeting I was never invited to. My forest was labeled Community Phase 3. "I'm not in your HOA," I said. "I never signed your covenant." Her eyes narrowed. "When the adjacent lot was sold, all connected properties joined the HOA. You've been a member since you bought your home." A lie. My family owned this land for 70 years. "I'll have my attorney look at this," I said calmly. "Of course," Karen purred. "But the project's funded. We break ground next week." As she walked off, I noticed stakes driven 50 feet into my land. They weren't just nibbling at my boundary, they wanted a third of my property. That night, my friend Tom from the county records office called. "Evan, something's off. Someone filed an amended plat map last month, listing your forest as common land. The signatures don't match older records." "Send me copies," I said. After hanging up, I emailed my attorney, Lisa Grant, the county commissioner, and the state real estate board. As a retired surveyor, I'd seen developers pull every trick to steal land. This wasn't my first rodeo. My neighbor, Martha, knocked, nervous. "Evan, at the HOA meeting, they said you agreed to sell the land. They're building a factory, not a workshop, something tied to Karen's cousin Mike. They're using HOA funds." I examined the stakes that night, flashlight in hand. They were deep in my soil, marked with fake measurements. I could storm their meetings or file an injunction. That's what they expected. Instead, I let them think I was beaten. The next morning, I photographed workers clearing my trees, but didn't confront them. When Karen drove by, I waved cheerfully. Her puzzled look was my first win. That afternoon, Lisa reviewed my documents. "This is property theft, maybe fraud," she said. "Why let them build?" "I want them to sink money into their mistake," I replied. "Every tree they cut, every foundation they pour, raises the stakes when we crush them." "Risky," Lisa warned. "If they establish a presence." "They won't," I said. "I'm documenting everything." For days I recorded every trespass, vehicles, workers, hours. On Friday, a cement truck poured footings. Karen approached, feigning concern. Evan, I was worried when you didn't respond. Reviewed the paperwork? It's been enlightening, I said, smiling. Who's Walker Woodworks? Saw their name on delivery slips. Her eyes flicked. A community partner. They'll offer classes. Generous, I said, knowing her cousin Mike owned the company. That evening, the county permits office emailed. The HOA's application was flagged for boundary and ownership issues. The trap was set. I just needed my neighbors to see the truth. Monday, cement mixers roared despite the county's flag. My phone buzzed. Lisa, county meeting 2 p.m. Commissioners there. Perfect. Lily, home from the city, gaped. Dad, they're stealing your land while you take pictures? They're investing thousands in a mistake, I corrected. Martha burst in. They're threatening fines for anyone opposing the project. They say my shed violates codes. I showed her old surveys proving her shed was legal. Will you testify if needed? She nodded. What's your plan? Justice, I said. At the county meeting, Karen and her lawyer claimed the land was always communal. Lisa presented my deed, surveys, and tax records. Commissioner Hayes, a veteran official, frowned at Karen's amended map. This was filed last month. Explain. Karen smiled. Historical records show the developer intended this for community use. That developer was my grandfather, I said. No such intent exists. Lisa added. The amended map has forged signatures and backdated approvals. Hayes issued a stop work order. Karen protested. We've spent $60,000. This workshop benefits the community. For your cousin's factory? I asked. The room hushed. I slid construction plans, sourced by Lily, showing production spaces, not a workshop. Hayes ordered a fraud investigation. Outside, Karen cornered me. You'll drown in legal fees, Carter. I nodded at Martha and the neighbors watching. Threats don't work with witnesses. That night, a young woman, Sarah, the HOA secretary, arrived. They're shredding records, financials, votes, everything about the factory. She handed me a folder. They forged my signature on the map. I've kept copies, including bank records showing they funneled HOA funds to Mike's failed businesses. Lightning flashed as I reviewed her evidence, years of fraud, with the factory as their boldest scam. Sarah whispered. They lied that your family donated the land. The next night, Lisa called. They're building again, ignoring the order. Through the rain, I filmed Karen, her husband Greg, and Mike under a tarp, directing a concrete truck. You're violating a county order, I shouted. Karen sneered. Emergency poor. The foundation's at risk. You invested in stolen land, Lily yelled. Mike lunged. I've sunk everything into this. The foreman, uneasy, refused to continue, citing his license. Karen hissed. This isn't over, Carter. Lightning lit her furious face. At dawn, workers returned. I marched out, deed in hand. This is my land. The foreman showed permits with Karen's signature. These are fake. I lied. I filed an injunction. Karen arrived, livid. Remove your injunction. No injunction yet, I said. But keep going, and there will be. Greg, nervous, said. We've spent $250,000. We used reserve funds. Without a vote? I asked loudly. Neighbors overheard, murmuring. That night, Martha warned of a secret HOA meeting to resume construction. I blocked the access path with my truck and set up cameras. At 5 a.m., a bulldozer shoved my truck aside, ripping up trees. I filmed, heart pounding. Lisa arrived with the police. Karen paled as an officer questioned her crew. Lisa handed me an emergency injunction and a bombshell. The workshop was Mike's factory, per a business license. 3 weeks later, my dining room was a war room. Neighbors shared HOA abuses, fines, denied permits, fake violations. Martha found $40,000 paid to Greg's consulting firm. David, an accountant, uncovered $25,000 to Mike's company. Sarah's records confirmed years of theft. Lisa brought discovery documents. They're still building at night. We drove to my land, finding a fence factory. They're betting we can't stop them, Lisa said. That night, a text from an unknown number, mall garage, 10 a.m. Bring a recorder. It was Greg, trembling. He handed me a flash drive. Financials, recordings, real plans. It's Mike's factory, not a workshop. They're targeting Mrs. Ellis next, claiming her house violates codes. He fled, saying, I was never here. The files were gold, Diane's emails about profits, bank transfers to shell companies. David suggested, let them finish. A completed factory on stolen land with stolen funds means bigger penalties, and you could own it. We waited. The HOA fined me $600 daily, placing a lien on my home. I stayed calm, knowing each move strengthened our case. At the grand opening, Karen toasted. Pine Grove's newest gem. I mingled, recording. Amazing what HOA fees build, I said, eyeing Mike's machinery. Karen iced over. Accepting progress, Evan? Who's this mental model paying $80 hourly to Mike's company? I held a price sheet. Interesting model for a community space. Murmurs spread. Mrs. Norris, an elder, said, we voted for a community space, not a business. Plans evolve. Greg deflected. I flashed emails about timber profits. Sarah stepped forward. I gave him everything. Greg grabbed her arm. David intervened. Touch her, and you're done. Lisa entered with a county inspector and the police. The inspector declared, this is Mr. Carter's land. This structure's illegal. Neighbors gasped. I said, they forged documents, stole funds, and built a factory for profit. The inspector listed violations, unpermitted wiring, no fire systems, and illegal zoning. Police took statements. Karen shrieked. You can't bring cops here. Mike grabbed her. You said this was legal. It would have been. Karen spat. If everyone obeyed. Officers led Karen and Greg out. Neighbors shared their HOA nightmares. A map on the wall showed planned expansions onto other properties. Karen whispered as she passed. This isn't over. I've hidden things even Sarah doesn't know. Weeks later, the factory flooded, Karen's sabotage, redirecting pipes. Machinery rusted, mold spread. An engineer found fresh cuts and a contractor's mark, proving intent. Sarah provided more files, a 3-year plan to rezone my land, logging contracts, and emails with a corrupt official. Mike's confession, recorded at the airport, detailed the scheme: harvest my timber, build with HOA funds, sell for millions. None for the community. Lisa said, we've got enough for criminal charges. 2 months later, we stood at the rebuilt Pine Grove Community Center. Karen and Greg got 7 years for fraud. The official was fired and charged. Restitution was ordered. Martha, now HOA president, handed me a conservation easement. Your forest is protected forever. David grinned. You let them build something we could use. Kids played where trees once fell. The factory became a library, meeting room, and workshop. I said, the building wasn't the issue, it was who controlled it. Later, Sarah revealed Karen targeted my daughter's wedding 4 years ago, scheduling road work to disrupt guests. Your land was always her prize, she said. Walking my protected forest, I paused where Karen's stakes once stood. No plaques, I told Martha, just a fair HOA. Karen sat in jail, her revenge dead. She thought she'd stolen my land, but she built what we needed, on my terms. The sweetest victory isn't stopping enemies, it's letting them build their ruin while you shape a better future. What do you think? Was Evan's strategy brilliant or reckless? Should he have stopped the HOA sooner, Or was letting them build the factory worth the risk? Share your thoughts below. Let's debate how far you'd go to outsmart a bully in your own life.